You were playing that clip from The Prisoner.
Sure, yeah.
Again, I want to encourage people to really go and check that out. There's some clips on YouTube, but Prisoner is mostly available now on DVD.
Yeah.
Either for purchase or in video stores. So even if people just pick up the first episode, which is called Arrival, and check it out, all the Prisoner series opens with the same music and the same little caption, the same series of images,
Yeah.
As you know, they always have the same sort of introductory storyline that opens all the Prisoners. That is loaded with very, very powerful information. Like you played already, one aspect of it where you hear the dialogue.
Yeah.
And just as an example, if people play this interview back and listen to that or go to The Prisoner, you'll notice that the prisoner is asking, who are you? He asks basically a question to the people who seem to have, captured him or whatever.
Mm.
And he's asking, who are you? Who are you? What side are you on? Right? So immediately we've got the whole idea of the political.
Yeah.
The ambivalence. You think it's one side or the other. And of course then the Prisoner series literally shows you later on that both sides are controlled by number one.
Yeah. The very next thing that you see then, of course, or he basically asks them then, what is it you want? And then they say, information. Mm-hmm. But here's why I'm going into this is because here's a perfect example of the double or triple meanings that overlay a particular movie or documentary or scene. It sounds very obvious that when he's saying, what do you want? And they're saying information, that's what they want, information. But the word information is repeated 4 times in a very, very short sequence. Hmm. And the way that the voice is pronouncing the word is information. So the word takes on a double meaning. It doesn't just mean information of an intellectual type. It is actually what they're saying, emphasizing subliminally to your subconscious mind, is in formation. Yeah.
That you are in formation.
Exactly.
So actually, when you get into looking at the prisoner that way, you actually discover something amazing, and that is that the opening scenes of the prisoner are about the descent of the soul into formation, into the world. That's what this man is also alluding to on a metaphysical level. Patrick McGoohan himself was an expert in 14th century manneristic and mystery plays, a medievalist, specializing in certain allegorical Christian mystery plays, which are highly complex, which also people like Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, you see, were experts in. Yeah. So there's more to his series and his work than people might first imagine. But again, if you step back and listen to what's being said, this whole idea of, in the beginning of the scene, you hear a crash of thunder. Yeah. The crash of thunder and the bolt of lightning has always been a symbol for the descent of the soul into matter. Kabbalistically, and even in Christian mythology, the fall of Lucifer, the fall into matter, you see. So that's what you see. The whole prisoner opens with a crash of thunder, which is the primal cause or the first cause.
from the center of the screen, which always represents basically transcendent vanishing point, you see a car coming with the prisoner, a single-seated car in which the prisoner is in.
Mm-hmm.
That's taken from the tarot card, the Chariot. And the Chariot tarot card represents precisely that, the descent of the soul into matter.
Ah.
The sign of Cancer being called the gate of the soul, in which the soul falls into matter. And you see this image in a modern rendition. And then later on, just a few seconds later, you see the descent to the underworld, where the prisoner character goes into the underworld, subliminally, in order to make his resignation to the government. But the symbolism is that he goes into the underworld. Then when he goes into the underworld, there's an office. And in the office, there's a man sitting behind a desk with a big map of the world behind him.
Yeah.
Subliminally, that's the demiurge again. That's a Gnostic concept of the ruler of the world. And so the prisoner or the child who's being introduced into this world that he doesn't want to be part of, he doesn't want to be imprisoned in the world of matter, he says, I resign, I'm leaving this. I want to remain a spiritual entity who's free.
Yeah.
And then what happens is the symbol of the X appears, which is highly subliminal. And the X, of course, is the cross, the crucifixion of Jesus, the crucifixion of the pure one of spirit, because leaving the world of creation is not just quite a simple process. You have to go through a death experience. And the symbol of the ritual death, or the transition through the rites of passage, was always symbolized by the cross. And that's exactly what you see crossing the prisoner's own face. Just before he's filed, you see, as a resigner. And the whole show of the prisoner is about why he wanted to resign, because the world order can never understand why a spirit would want to be free. But you see the cross going over his face. Now the cross, the secondary meaning of the cross, or the X, is the feminine gene.
Yeah.
Isn't it the Y and X chromosomes?
Sure, yeah.
So he's feminizing himself. This is also another very important part, that he's lost his masculinity, or at least the masculinity that represents slavery to the beast, the eros energy that builds the civilization. The prisoner's literally regressing or retracting, and he's feminizing his energy by saying, I'm crossing myself off the list. So there's a tremendous statement there also about that, And then you also have, just as he feels that he's going home to his house after his resignation in the opening scene, death appears. And the death, of course, is an image from the tarot card. Right? Then he goes inside his house and he's put to sleep through this gas. But just as he's losing consciousness, you see the image of the tower struck with lightning, or the falling tower. They do this very subliminally, where you see these two tower blocks outside his window sort of waving, or inverting or turning over. And even when he's in the city of London, you see his car circumambulating around Pall Mall, symbol of the Wheel of Fortune. So there's a whole tarot symbolism, and this whole symbolism, which is implied in astrology and tarot, of the fall of the soul into matter. And as another aside for those people who are into Patrick McGoohan himself, almost in every other movie or documentary or show or any type of show that Patrick McGoohan, the actor, has been in, he himself drops a hint of the original Prisoner series, either in the dialogue or in something he's wearing or in some other very subtle way. Probably even unknown to the people that have hired him to act. So this is something to watch out for. That he's in Columbo a lot. He wrote a lot of the Columbo scripts.
Oh, really?
So, but the man is a genius, and also has made a habit of dropping little tiny, allusions to his original Prisoner series in other movies that he appears in. One good example is the Clint Eastwood movie Escape from Alcatraz, in which the warden of the prison is Patrick McGoohan.
Oh, really?
Right. Yeah, but right down to the clothes he'll wear, or the hand gestures that he makes, or some very subtle comments that the actor makes. He's always been alluding to the previous series, which is absolutely astonishing. People can check that out if they want.
Yeah, fascinating.
And they should check out Arrival, the first episode, in which, when the prisoner arrives in the village, which is the microcosm of the world, as you're saying, he's given 3 credit cards, or three cards, which are labeled 666, because the prisoner, of course, is number 6. But if you're watching very closely the first series, he's actually given 3 identity cards, and there's 3 of them, and the number 6 is written beside it. So we have the number of the beast, or the number of man. You see, it's the whole idea of corporeal existence, 666, the man falling into corporeal existence.
Yeah. Oh, fascinating. Yeah, I saw that the entire first episode was available on YouTube. So I'm going to link that up.
We can link to it.
Yeah, excellent.
But then as soon as he arrives in the village, he hears this voice saying, "Follow the signs." Imagine that you're the spirit pure, and you're coming into the world, and you hear through a megaphone, follow the sign. We'll lead you to the labor exchange. The first place he has to go is to the labor exchange. Then he goes into a shop to ask for a map, meaning that he wants to see the big picture.
Yeah, exactly.
And all they do is keep giving him a map of only the village.
Yeah.
Every map they have is only about the world that they know.
Exactly.
So he's going, well, what about the bigger picture? What about the bigger... he asks the first person he meets, which is this maid, haven't you ever questioned who runs all of this? Does it never occur to you, to escape or whatever? So an absolutely brilliant movie series, which I've used many times in teaching children.
Yeah.
We've watched the whole Prisoner series, and kids found it, the surrealism involved in it, very, very, impressive.
Do you know if the guy, the producer or director or whatever, is he behind anything else?
No, it was Lou Grade. Lou Grade's behind everything. Lou Grade was, it was a big, corporate owner of the channel that it was showed in, and he basically gave Patrick McGoohan full rights. Patrick McGoohan is one of the people in history to have the full rights to do basically whatever he wanted with the show. So him and, his team basically, had a lot of say in where they went to shoot it and all the other aspects of it. Patrick McGoohan was making it up as he went along. He was writing the script as they made the script.
Oh, okay.
He had the ideas all in his brain. There was no previous storyboard. He was basically telling and directing people what to do as they were making the thing. He was just like literally brainchilding the whole thing, or at least super directing it, what I call, channeling. When people like him who work on an archetypal level, it's not quite the same thing as just an ordinary creative genius type who sits down, and storyboards everything.
Yeah.
Dealing with something much more elevated than just that.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember myself watching this when I was very young. I remember the series, and I remember when I kind of, began to hunt for it, because at the time I didn't know what it was called. I just remember seeing a few scenes from it, and what fascinates me is that there are a few movies and a few series that are like this, that they kind of resonates with you instantly, and when you get older, you kind of remember the themes, and you kind of I had this urge to kind of go view it again. So I mean, it's definitely, for me at least, something there that is very potent. I don't know what to call it, but
well, this is what happens when something is transcending. It's been made purposely, like great art, to bypass the rational center, which is a lot of reasons why people will not like The Prisoner or other movies like that. McGoohan is a person who knows how to bracket your conscious mind. He's dealing with archetypal symbolism that, has a humongously hypnotic and brilliant effect on your unconscious mind. And that's what, stays with you as a child. Very much the Doctor Who series, anything that the great Terry Nation made, again, will do this, And there are, of course, modern examples of this, but nothing quite as good in my mind as these earlier series that were made in the 60s and 70s. And they work on the template that they're using, the sort of the artist's palette that these people are drawing on is of an archetypal nature.
Yeah.
And that is why they will last for eternity,
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Man knows that he is a prisoner. Patrick McGoohan rarely did any interviews on the Prisoner series. He refused to really talk about it. But in one of the very few, very, very few, interviews that he did, he basically just said a couple of lines. He basically said to this journalist, look, when you're in traffic in a car and you can't move forward and you can't move back, aren't you a prisoner? Because that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So basically, okay, man is a prisoner.
Yeah.
If you're not at work at the right time, you're fired. So I mean, you are a prisoner.
Yeah.
Face it.
We're prisoners on multiple levels. I mean, we are, as you say, we're corporeal beings. We are, in the flesh. We can't escape that.
Undoubtedly. And the whole Prisoner series, just to make it very clear for people who may not be familiar with it, is a very elaborate, highly detailed, highly symbolic analysis of all those multidimensional ways that we are enslaved, both religiously, politically, psychologically, all ending in this fabulous ending episode, which is completely befuddled. Even Prisoner critics, people are just befuddled about what is the meaning of the final episodes. And, of course, it's absolutely tremendous. I adore the last episode and have very, very, very specific ideas about what he's talking about there. But again, these things should be watched first of all, they should just be watched as pure entertainment or beauty,
Yeah, sure.
People shouldn't try to start analyzing it right away. They should just try to absorb what the man is saying, and then slowly let it digest, pass through your own consciousness, and then come up with your own conclusions
Mm.